Read Israeli activist Jeff Halper's election analysis. Hello, my name is Stanley Heller. Welcome to The Struggle. Friday, September 20th, climate strike. Activities will take place in over 600 locations in the United States and many more around the country. 1,000 Amazon employees say they will walk out. The unions SEIU and UE are pledging support. The Secretary General of Amnesty International, Kumi, Naidoo, has appealed to all school superintendents to allow students to leave classes without penalty. In Connecticut, strikers and supporters will gather for a program at noon in front of the Hartford Capitol on the North Steps. In New Haven, on the Green at 4 p.m. Israeli election results show a weakened Benjamin Netanyahu. A rival blue and white party, led by generals, received more seats in parliament. Neither party has a majority, so probably a coalition, a unity government of the main Zionist parties will form the next Israeli government. They're all right-wing and violent. However, Netanyahu's defeat is to be welcomed. First Boris Johnson, now Benjamin Netanyahu. Perhaps the wave of strong men is receding. We recommend you read Israeli activist Jeff Halper's election analysis. It's the top story on peacenews.org. To bring us to ground, a 28-year-old Palestinian woman was killed by Israeli soldiers. The Israeli army claims she had a knife, but as you'll see in the video, she was yards away from Israeli soldiers and posed them no harm.
Back in the mid-1990s, 3 young Jewish women in the Bay Area realized they could no longer keep silent about Israel's brutal occupation of Palestinians. And they went looking for a political home where they could speak out. But they didn't find one, so they decided to build their own.
Rebecca Vilkommerson is retiring as executive director of Jewish Voice for Peace. Here she narrates a brief history of this excellent anti-Zionist organization.
They started meeting in people's living rooms, and before long, there was a committed community of people that were ready to take action. It was out of those living room meetings that Jewish Voice for Peace was born. And in 2001, in the midst of the Second Intifada, things really began to take off. And that's when I felt compelled to join. We raise our voices proudly as Jews fighting for Palestinian human rights. We keep our values at the core of everything we do, and we live out those values by taking fierce, bold action.
I'm Jewish. I support Palestinian human rights.
A lot has changed since then. We've become a national organization. We have more than 70 chapters all around the country. We have several 100,000 supporters online, and we're still meeting in living rooms, but we're also filling auditoriums. Our actions have spread across the country. We span every generation, and our partnerships only deepen. And it's working. We're strong enough that we can hold our representatives accountable. We can push corporations to divest from occupation and apartheid. We're organizing on campuses. We're shifting culture, we're keeping our communities honest and accountable, and we're building across movements. We believe, just like we did back then, that true safety comes through solidarity. And we know that it will take all of us to make the change that we want to see. We're helping to build a broad-based movement for Palestinian rights and a Jewish community that supports it. Together for freedom. Join us.
We're coming up to the year anniversary of the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. Hard to believe, but the New York City Public Library has scheduled a forum on good business practices run by the Mohammed bin Salman Foundation. The Committee to Protect Journalists has joined in the campaign to get this event canceled. Here's a tweet from Human Rights Watch. They want no part of the whitewashing of bin Salman's murderous regime. You no doubt think that lynching is a thing only of the very dark past, but apparently there's been a number of lynchings of Haitians in the Dominican Republic. A number of groups and individuals wrote an open letter protesting this situation and gave it to the Attorney General of the Dominican Republic. I did an interview on the subject with Rudy Joseph. Here's about 5 minutes of our discussion. Now, let's talk about this open letter. It's up on rpm.world and other websites, and the title is Stop Xenophobic and Racist Lynchings in the Dominican Republic. Can you explain the problem?
There have been many incidents of racist lynchings in the Dominican Republic throughout the 20th century, and most recently there was an incident in the year 2000 where the military opened fire on a truck with Haitian immigrants, killing 6 immigrants and 1 Dominican person. That was the incident of Guayubin. Also, in the year 2014, in February, a young Haitian boy was hanged in a public park in the city of Santiago. His name was Jean-Claude Harry. His nickname was Tulil. And in the same city of Santiago, which is the second city in the Dominican Republic, we had this crime of the lynching of two Haitian workers, Victor Pierre, who ended up dying because of the injuries sustained during the attack by a racist mob, and also the other worker who survived, whose name was Esilom Atul. This incident, which illustrates the situation of discrimination and widespread racial hatred in this country, started out when a merchant called Gabriel Beato, he was alerted by neighbors that two Haitian men were in a tree taking down mangoes, and they treated it as if it was a dangerous robbery. This man called Gabriel Beato came out with a gun, shooting at two men simply accused of taking down mangoes from a tree. In this shooting, a stray bullet killed a Dominican man called Daniel Espejo. He was trying to injure or kill the two Haitians, but actually ended up wounding a bystander who died because of the gun wounds. He then, to cover up his crime, stated that it had been the Haitians who had killed this young man, Daniel Espejo. So he created a hysteria in the neighborhood, and so this mob started to form, and then two Haitian workers who happened to be walking in the area, who had no relation to the first incident, where the two Haitians who were shot at, they escaped. But these two other workers whose names we said, Victor Pierre and Atul Esilom, they were captured by this mob and beaten, one of them to death and the other one severely injured. This story, which is it has been officially confirmed that this was the actual sequence of events, the police investigation and all official information confirms this is what actually happened. This wasn't properly reflected in the local media. It wasn't given its due importance, perhaps because it's a very shameful incident. Also, there was no national statement by the authorities condemning this racist and xenophobic crime. So we thought that it was very important to bring this to light, to denounce this terrible crime internationally, to bring attention to this situation. And that is the intention in which the manifesto was made.
Now, from Unicorn Riot, an anti-fascist underground nuclear bunker in Amsterdam.
This is Ray with Unicorn Riot. We are in Vundel Park in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. I heard there's some kind of bunker around here, a nuclear bunker, where they're holding an art space. We're gonna see if we can find somebody who can let us in this bunker and show us around. Come with me.
Hello?
Okay.
Hello?
so this looks like a door to the bunker. What's it say? I believe this is the door we knocked on last time we were here, and we were just like, let us in. No one was there, no one answered. But we did find someone in the woods who knew these people, so we got a little in. Okay, so we have found the Vondel bunker, and we're gonna check it out. Some stairs here, this door, anti-fascist Amsterdam stickers, and I don't speak Dutch. They have like posters all over. I think these are like events, maybe bands. No VIPs, no racism, no sexism, and no assholes. Okay, we're gonna go into this proper space of the bunker now. And there's an art exhibit going on, which is pretty cool. Panoramas here, and prints, and sculptures. And then there's kind of a drink bar here where we could get like coffee. This is all volunteer.
Yes.
Yeah, so you just kind of walk in and you're like, I think I could do a shift here and just help out.
Yeah, it's fun.
Nice.
You enjoy. There's so many things happening here, like from 16th century Vondel, the playwright, reenactments here from a theater group that wants to do Vondel in Vondel Park, or like a bondage group that's doing a Valentine's Day amateur night, or like 16mm film screenings, regular film screenings.
All right, so what are we doing here?
So in case the bomb would drop, 2,000 people would be locked up in the bunker, and then the door would be closed, so nobody could get any new fresh air. But this machinery you're seeing over there is a big ventilation system that should clean the air from the nuclear bomb
Radiation.
Yeah. So you can see all these pipelines going here through, and then in case the electricity would go down, we still have these bikies who are supposed to keep the whole system running. So there are 5 people, because there are 5 bikes, giving 2,000 people enough oxygen to live here for a few days.
Oh, just a few days?
Yeah, well, I don't know where they would store food and water, so I guess after a few days you either have to eat each other or leave the bunker.
Wow.
So you have to know that this is in Dutch, it says war. So this has probably been a switch to close the doors.
And who knows if they'd work anymore. You hopefully will never have to find out.
People think it's the safest place you can be. That's what we say a lot here, but I think if the bomb will drop, this bunker will be flat as everyone else. It's so old, it's like last time it was renovated for the Cold War. Yep. Before that it was a normal bunker, and then they retrofitted it to a nuclear shelter for the people living around here. And there was one person that could open the door.
We have a trained staff to help make your stay in this shelter livable for us all.
And then also had the, how do you say, the job of closing the door on time and keeping people out. So that's a hard job. And when do you close? You know, at 100, at 1,000, at how many people do fit?
How many do you have so far? With your family, 26.
Check out these doors. Some heavy duty doors. Look at them. They all look like this. And then there's kind of a seal here too. There's like an airlock, 2 doors here. And then yet more doors.
The more solid substance you can put between yourself and the fallout, the better.
So if the bomb dropped, you could go here for a couple of days and then be rescued or die.
Okay. Jeez,
Yeah.
That's the sound of trains going over the bunker. It's pretty cool.
Finding shelter quickly may save your life. There is a bright flash, brighter than the sun, brighter than anything you've ever seen. It can smash in buildings and knock signboards over and break windows all over town. A serious fallout follows. You can't hear, smell, taste, or see the radiation.
It should be appreciated that this maximum range extends across half Europe, and it may well stretch as far as Poland.
There was no money for any social place for people to meet, to converse, to make art.
Na een vergeefse poging van de politie om het gekraakte pand te ontruimen, waarbij vele agenten gewond waren geraakt, hadden de krakers op alle toegangswegen naar het huis barricades opgeworpen om een nieuwe ontruimingsactie te verhinderen.
We came out of the squatting environment for like 8 years, I think. Our group squatted a place for social events only, not for living. Most people did that for living.
Right.
And we tried to keep that vibe going here. It takes some time to get used to it. To have a space with rent and all the rules and everything. And that's why squatting is so great, to live outside of the bubble of what society wants of you.
It's a space where really anything can happen, and I think for a lot of people that is so amazing to engage with. Yeah. And I think spaces like this are very important, like this autonomous free culture. I think it's nice to give people the opportunity to do whatever they want, to experiment. It's a beautiful little part of Vondelpark.
Thanks for joining us at the Vondel Bunker. This has been Ray with Unicorn Riot, and I hope you had an awesome time.
Finishing up with parts of Amnesty International's Kumi Naidoo's interview on Democracy Now!
Amnesty International's Secretary General Kumi Naidoo has urged school districts across the globe to allow students to skip school Friday without facing punishment. In an open letter to school leaders, Naidoo recently wrote, quote, "Children should not be punished for speaking out about the great injustices of our age. In fact, when it's fallen on young people to show the leadership that many adults who hold great positions of power have failed to, it is not young people's behavior we should be questioning, it is ours," he said. Kumi Naidoo joins us now in our New York studio. He became the Secretary General of Amnesty International a year ago. He previously served as the International Executive Director of Greenpeace and was also involved in the anti-apartheid movement in his home country of South Africa, where he was also kicked out of school for protesting. Kumi Naidoo, it's great to have you back. Welcome to Democracy Now!
Thank you very much, Amy. It's good to be here.
So it's interesting, your titles, where you have been. Now you're at Amnesty International. You're the head of it. You were at the head of Greenpeace, and you are here in New York. You'll be part of the global climate strike, but you're also at this unprecedented meeting of environmentalists and human rights activists pulling together all of your activism in your life.
I think one of the catastrophic mistakes we made in 1992 when the Rio Earth Summit happened was framing our response to the threat of climate change solely or primarily as an environmental issue. I think we needed to have done then what we are trying to do now. It's late, but better late than never, which is to ensure that we bring a cross-cutting understanding of climate change and bring a more human-centric approach to addressing climate change. So the summit that we're having is primarily non-environmental activism coming together and asking ourselves the question, what can the human rights movement bring to ensuring there's an urgency on the climate question? Because basically climate change today constitutes a mass death penalty on the entire population of our planet.
Could you talk about that a little bit more? Who are the populations that are most affected?
Well, the sad reality is that the people that are paying the first and most brutal impacts of climate change are those that actually have been the least responsible for it. So these are people in Mozambique, where we saw, I grew up in Southern Africa, that's my home. I don't have any recollection of cyclones ever. And then Mozambique has 2 cyclones in 2 weeks, wiping out almost an entire city with hundreds of people's lives being devastated and lost. But if we look at it, the disproportional effect of the impacts is still very much, it's not as if there's no impacts in rich countries, there is, but in comparative terms, it is the poor countries that are suffering. Yesterday, in my opening address to the climate summit, the People Summit, I said, just because it's not yet, in the north, you can be assured it's coming to a theater near you quite soon. And the reality is that we have to get this right as rich and poor countries acting together, and we secure the future of all our children and their children. If we continue to be as divided as we are, true, people in poor countries unfairly are paying the first price, but people in rich countries need to know that they are not sanitized on a long-term basis from the impacts of climate change.
But it seems, in fact, that the differential impact is not just now between rich and poor countries, but also between the rich and poor within countries. The UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights earlier this year warned that the unequal distribution of these impacts could lead to climate apartheid, whereby, quote, he said, the wealthy pay to escape overheating, hunger, and conflict, while the rest of the world is left to suffer. Could you say a little about the ways in which you see both wealthy countries and the wealthy within all countries kind of shielding themselves from the worst effects, and how so many people are left out of that?
Absolutely. I mean, when we think about the climate crisis, you can think about the sinking of the Titanic, right? Everybody in the Titanic, when it struck that iceberg, was under threat. But we know that based on your wealth, you had a different opportunity of succeeding or not. Even in the United States, if you look at Hurricane Katrina in 2005, the wealthier folks were able to jump in the cars and drive away. Poorer folks were left stranded in hospitals, in prisons, in communities, and so on.